Like they've said, if the drone comes over the police station,
it's coming over.
You'll get arrested, won't you?
No, I'll take you for lawful redress and I'll take it out your ass pocket as well as the chief constable. If you do anything that's unlawful.
Right, I'm the duty inspector. You mind telling me what you're doing?
Inspector.
Can you just go around the front of the building now? I'll speak to you.
Please. Yeah, I'll engage with you, but don't be aggressive like that.
Okay, well don't. You must not look in the police station. The video inside the police station.
I wasn't videoing, but I was looking.
Is this on? Is it?
Well, I wasn't videoing.
Right. You do not film inside police stations,
please
right?
don't speak to me like that. I'm not speaking to you like that.
Under legislation, okay?
An offence under legislation?
Yes, it is.
What legislation would that be?
It's a security offence, okay?
A security offence.
Right, just make
sure. You're being a bit fake there, Inspector.
Are you the gentleman who came earlier and asked to fly a drone over the police station?
I didn't ask. I said I'm gonna when I am gonna.
Right, okay. So I need to point out it's actually an offence under current legislation.
And what legislation would that be?
Right, okay. So it's an offence under the Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act of 2021.
No, it's not.
It is, okay.
No, it's not. Can you show me?
We've taken some legal guidance.
Can you show me?
I'm just going to tell you, okay?
Can you show me that legislation?
If you do that,
I am doing that.
I consider that a risk to the police station security.
I'm doing that.
If you continue to do that, I'll ask you to stop doing it, and if you don't do it, we'll seize your drone.
The officer then raises the pressure by warning that the drone will be taken if compliance is refused, which shifts the tone of the encounter into a more forceful stance and signals an attempt to assert control, without clearly establishing the legal basis for doing so. When the discussion turns toward the Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021, it may sound official, but simply naming the law does not make the activity unlawful, because that legislation focuses on specific enforcement. Powers related to misuse of drones in restricted airspace rather than creating a broad rule against flying near police property. For a flight to actually break the rules, there must be a clear and defined restriction, such as controlled airspace, a flight that puts people or property at risk, or failure to follow Civil Aviation Authority guidance. And in this situation, none of those conditions are shown or explained, as Turbinator pushes back and asks the straightforward question of which exact rule is being relied on. The inspector chooses not to provide a clear answer, and that silence becomes a most telling part of the exchange, because if the authority was solid and properly understood, presenting it would immediately resolve the disagreement and remove any doubt about the legality of the drone flight.
You will commit an offence and you will be reported.
I'll tell you what, Inspector.
Under that legislation. I'm just explaining what the legislation is.
Listen.
Okay.
If you can show me that legislation, then obviously I won't do it.
I've just explained to you what it is.
Show me.
We've taken some guidance from our legal department.
Yeah.
I've just explained to you.
Well, you better take some more. You better take some more then. So if you can't show me that legislation, I will do that.
I'm telling you, right?
I am doing that.
You'll be asked to stop doing it. If you don't do it, we will seize it under Section 19 of the legislation.
No,
you will commit offences.
No, you won't. If you do anything that's unlawful, right, I will.
Well, yeah, I would expect that you would.
I would, but I don't want to do that, Inspector. All I want to do.
Not film inside police stations.
I wasn't.
Because it's well, that looks like it's on, and you.
Well, how does that look like it's on? Is the screen on? Is the screen on, Inspector?
Just see a red light.
A red light. You can't see no red light because it's not on.
Well, you mustn't do that because it's a threat to our security in the police premises.
Okay, listen.
It's an official government building, you know that.
Listen, it's a public building.
Do you mind if I take you on in, please?
Yeah, Darren.
Darren what?
Darren, that's as far as we're going.
Well, okay, Darren, well, obviously, if you are found to be committing any offences, we'll need your full details. Otherwise, we couldn't deal with it by way of summons. You would have to be arrested.
Turbinator offers a calm and practical solution by saying that if the rule is shown, he will comply, which would have been the simplest turning point in the exchange, because a clear authority would immediately settle everything and remove any confusion. Instead of taking that route, the inspector changes direction and begins to threaten seizure under Section 19, which introduces a more aggressive stance without first confirming that any rule has actually been broken, that power is not a blanket permission to take a drone whenever officers feel uncomfortable, as it only applies when there are reasonable grounds to believe the drone has been involved in a specific offense, which means a breach must already exist before that step can be justified. The inspector then redirects attention toward Turbinator recording with a body camera and suggests that the status of the building means it should not be filmed, yet the fact that a police station is a government building does not create a general restriction on recording it from a place that is open to the public. And this shift in focus highlights a pattern of moving between justifications without clearly establishing a solid legal foundation.
You're going to give me a full name?
At the end of the day.
Darren, will you give me your full details?
Will you give me your full details?
Yes, I will. I'm Inspector Garney from Northumbria Police, Hexham Police Station.
Okay.
7781's my first number.
Okay.
Right?
What's your date of birth?
No, you don't
What's
be silly.
Your address?
Don't be silly.
Well, what do you want mine for?
I'm explaining to you, right? You will breach current legislation.
I will not.
Which we've taken
legal guidance on. I know the legislation inside out.
Please don't do it.
I'm doing it.
If you do it,
I will do it.
We'll ask you to stop.
I'm definitely doing it. Now you told me that because I know you're lying.
We'll
I know
seize
you're
the drone,
lying.
and if you don't allow us to seize it, you will be arrested because we won't be able to deal with it by way of summons.
Right,
okay?
listen, you
So
seize it.
please leave the building.
I'm not in the building.
Just leave the area.
Why?
Okay?
Why?
Well,
I thought me and you were having a pleasant
been
conversation,
perfectly
weren't we?
reasonable with you.
Like, you're not being reasonable. We're having a
What I'm
conversation. You're
saying
telling
to
me
you
to
is,
leave.
right,
The
you are a
conversation.
threat to the security
A
of this
threat.
building
And how do you work
by
that out,
recording
Inspector?
drone footage. So I'm telling you not to do it.
Inspector,
I'm
listen.
explaining the legislation that prevents you from doing it.
There is
And I've
no
also told
legislation
you-
that tells me that
I've
I cannot
also-
fly over
listen,
there. The only way I couldn't fly over there, right, is if it was an FTR, right? I couldn't then. If there was a CTR, I still could
Darren,
because of the class of
I'll
drone
ask you
that I've
once
got.
more, will you give me your full details, please?
What?
The inspector then moves into requesting Turbinator's personal details, even though no clear offense has been identified that would justify demanding that information, which raises further questions about the legal footing of the interaction. Labeling someone as a potential security concern does not automatically make it true, because there still needs to be an objective and evidence-based reason to support that claim. Turbinator responds by calmly outlining the actual framework that governs drone operations and highlights how these situations are meant to be assessed if the area was subject to a flight restriction known as an FTR. Then operating a drone there would not be permitted at all, and the issue would be straightforward. However, if the location falls within controlled airspace under a CTR, flights can still be lawful depending on the type of aircraft being used and the altitude limit set by the Civil Aviation Authority. This means there are clear and structured rules that determine where drones can and cannot be flown, and in this case none of those rules are being clearly presented or shown to apply, which reinforces a lack of a solid legal basis for the demands being made.
Tell me why, and I'll think about
Well,
it.
because I want to know who's on these premises, because I'm concerned that somebody turns up with, you know, a face covering like you. Like why are you covering your face?
Do you know, I'll tell you now.
Cover your face?
Yes, I'll tell you why I covered my face, Inspector, because I was looking in the window, right?
Yeah.
And when you come out, you came right into my space.
Yes, I
now,
did.
I don't know if you've heard anything
Because
about...
I don't like people looking at police stations who shouldn't be looking inside police
Okay,
stations,
listen then.
especially when I think they're filming.
Listen then.
Right, I've said all I'm going to say.
Oh, no, listen, let me finish. You'll ask me a question, man. Now, be polite, Inspector. I've listened to you. So, when I first came, I came into reception, right, to be reasonable and tell you what my intentions are,
Yeah.
right? So,
And I got that message, and in fairness, I was
listen,
going to come speak to
don't
you.
interject, please. I haven't interjected you,
But the
Inspector.
front
Please let
station
me
was
finish,
closing at 2
please.
o'clock, wasn't it?
Please
That's why
let
you
me
asked to
finish.
leave.
No, I wasn't asked to leave.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to go to the toilet because I
Oh,
had a bit of a
okay.
bad stomach. But anyway, getting back to the point, right? If I was any threat to this police station, I could stand what? 3, 4, 5 miles away, and I could fly my drone over this police station. You just wouldn't have a clue where I was, Inspector.
Right, I've
so if I
listened
was
to
a
you.
threat, I wouldn't come into the police station and explain
I've listened to
out
you,
of
haven't I?
courtesy and trying to be reasonable.
Okay.
I've even give you my first name. I don't have to, but to be reasonable, I am.
Another key point that weakens the inspector's stance is that Turbinator had already entered reception earlier and clearly explained what he intended to do, which shows openness from the very start. Someone presenting a real security concern would not walk into the same building and calmly outline their actions beforehand, which makes an earlier interaction highly relevant. The inspector was aware of this before stepping outside, yet still approaches as if the situation appeared without warning. And that decision reveals a lot about how the encounter is being handled rather than acknowledging the prior context. The exchange continues as though that conversation never took place, which creates a disconnect between what is known and how it is being presented. Turbinator even goes a step further by voluntarily giving his first name despite having no obligation to do so, which demonstrates cooperation rather than avoidance. Yet the inspector continues with the same approach without adjusting to the information already provided, and that persistence highlights a pattern of ignoring context instead of engaging with it properly.
I'm about to do my intentions. You might not like that as an individual, but that's not the law.
Well, it's not a
what
case
you're
of
going
not
on
liking
about.
it, Darren. It's a
Please
threat
let me
to
finish,
police station
Inspector.
security,
Please
all
let
right?
me
And I've
finish.
explained the legislation under which
Can I
I'm
speak to you,
relying
mate?
on.
Because he's just rude. He's just rude. He's just rude.
We've just... No,
You're
I'm
just rude,
just
Inspector.
telling you how it is.
You're not telling me, Inspector. You're just
Right?
being rude,
So,
man.
if you'd like to go, 'cause we've all got jobs
the
to do. We're
legislation,
busy.
like you're saying there, about
Yeah.
Section 19, right? You're wrong, mate.
Okay.
You're totally
Well, then
wrong,
you
bro.
can challenge Northumbria Police Legal Department.
But I don't want to do that.
Because that's
I
the
don't want to have
guidance
to do
I've
that,
got.
though.
Well, that's up to you. That's your prerogative.
Do you know what
but
I'm
I've
saying?
told you,
I'm not here to
you will
start
not be
making
permitted to fly the drone over
You've
this
got no
police
choice.
station
You've got no
based
choice.
on police station
I
security.
can fly it. Oh, I can fly it
Right?
anywhere and look in, mate. Don't
Well,
have to fly over.
I've just asked you not to do it.
Well,
I've
I'm
explained
gonna.
the legislation for you not to do it.
Right, explain
and
the
I've explained
legislation
the
again.
Consequences.
Legislation again.
Right, because it's a threat to the station security for you to fly the drone and record that drone.
And that tells me that in Section 19, does it?
No, that
No, it
Section
doesn't, I
19
know.
is the offence It gives us the power to seize the drone if you don't.
At one stage, the inspector tells Turbinator to move along so officers can return to their duties, yet that point feels misplaced because the entire situation only exists due to their own decision to come outside and escalate the encounter rather than ignore it or handle it calmly. No one forced them into this interaction, which makes the reasoning difficult to justify as the discussion returns again to the absence of any clearly defined offense. The inspector does not clarify his legal position or provide the authority being relied on, and instead dismisses the issue by suggesting it can be taken up with a legal department later, which speaks volumes about the strength of the claim because a solid position would not need to be deferred after the fact. This moment connects directly to an important update worth sharing, as a new platform called Underwood is being introduced at a time when understanding the legal environment in the UK has become more important than ever, with laws evolving, enforcement becoming more active, and powers continuing to expand. Many people only realize gaps in their knowledge when they are already facing a situation. This platform is designed to change that by helping users stay informed at all times. It includes over 100 interactive legal guides where users can make decisions and see how those choices affect their legal safety, escalation risk, and evidence standing rather than just passively reading information. An integrated tool known as StopBot is also included, which is an AI focus on policing within UK law that explains powers and thresholds in a clear way, and in guide mode it acts like a teacher, reinforcing key concepts so users feel confident in real situations. There's also a daily news feed centered on UK policing, covering real incidents, operational changes, and crime, along with detailed breakdowns of misconduct cases, upcoming laws, and what those developments mean in practice. The platform also offers practical tools, including a live drone safety map with awareness features, a civil claim checker to evaluate potential liability, a complaint generator, and a request builder with additional features planned over time. This project is not built on outrage, but on the need for awareness, preparation, and protection as public confidence continues to face challenges, and it is set to launch soon at an accessible monthly price, with further details available through the Underwatch channel linked in the description. Before returning back to the main video content,
I won't do it. If you can explain that legislation, Inspector, I won't do it. If you can't, then I'll...
He already has done.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
No, he hasn't.
He has.
What's your number?
2203.
When did you leave school?
Are you trying to be funny?
I'm just asking a question. When did you leave school?
Nothing to do with you.
The Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So, part of that legislation
Right.
makes it an offence for an individual to fly a drone over a police station if there is a perceived threat to the security of that station. I am the duty inspector. I perceive that to be a threat to the security of this police station. Therefore, if you could do it, you'll be asked not to do it under that legislation. If you don't stop doing it, we will seize that drone under section 19 of the legislation.
What
and
legislation?
If you don't allow, of what I've just explained to you.
What, the unmanned aircraft?
Yes, right. And if you don't allow us to do it,
you're wrong, you know.
You'll be arrested.
You're wrong, you know.
Right? And if you don't give your details so that you can be summoned, you'll also be arrested, because we can't deal with the bad.
Well, I'll already be arrested, won't I?
All right.